Good morning, campers. Rise and shine. My name. Welcome to a conversation over at Weekend Edition. My name is Michelle Kinney. Uh, please meet my illustrious co-hosts. If you don't know them already, we have Julie Roginski, author of Salty Politics on Substack. We have Joanne Carducci joining us from Florida, author of Are You Effing Kidding Me on Substack, and also Sane-ish podcast, which is climbing the charts, as they would say. And my good friend and fellow co-founder of the Seneca Project, Tara Setmayer, author of Uncompromised on Substack and all around swell gal. So, and she's joining us from Virginia. She's at a breakfast talking to some people in the Democratic Party, and she wants to tell us a little bit about that. But that's it. That's the intro. Hi guys.
Hi.
Hi. I'm so glad we have the band back together for the first time in like weeks.
I know.
Well, it's funny. I'd much rather be where Joe is in Florida, so I could be near the beach. But I do love being here in Richmond. I'm at the Virginia Democratic Caucus, Women's Caucus breakfast with Abigail Spanberger, who is running for governor here in the great state, the great Commonwealth of Virginia. Virginia is about to set some records here because it's never had a woman governor. So it is two women running in this race this year. The other one is a lunatic, Winsome Sears, like an absolute MAGA lunatic. And then you have Abigail Spanberger, who is competent. She's a former CIA officer. She comes from a family of service, and she's well poised to be the next governor here. But all of the state delegates are up for re-election here in the state, 100 of them, and it's going to be close. So down here representing Seneca Project to make sure that we meet the people we need to so we can play a role here in this Virginia race this year, because Virginia is going to be the bellwether state going into midterms. So we're just waiting on the former Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger to come. She's a little late, so I just wanted to hop on and say hello to everyone. I'm a little fancy today for coffee and conversation. This is not the normal coffee and conversation get up. But I just wanted to come say hi to you guys because it's been a minute.
It has been a minute.
Yeah, you're looking. That's a very warm jacket for this kind of.
Thank you. I mean, it is the summer, so you know, thus the color.
We lost Joe, but that's okay. I think she'll be back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys, what's been going on since I've been gone in everybody's life? Everybody's life. I'm not talking about what's been going on in the world.
Oh, I was like, well, I mean, my life is work, so it's hard to. I mean, maybe that's a sad thing that I have nothing else to. Oh, Joe's back. That I have nothing else to, really report. But, that's
a
sad state of affairs.
And Joe, you're down in Florida, which is like 1,027 degrees right now.
Yeah, and I brought the rain from Jersey, aka Seattle.
Oh no.
It's the surface of Mars at home and sunny. And Everett was in DC, it was raining. I came home, it was raining. I left for Florida thinking, oh, Florida, yeah, I know they get summer showers, but it'll be nice. No, it's raining. But yeah, so
but I take it back, Joe. I said I'd rather be down there in sunny South Florida, but not if it's raining. That sucks.
I'm cursed. This is all because I put up a gazebo outside my house, hoping to enjoy the lovely summer weather. And it's like last year I bought up an umbrella for my son's baseball season because the year before I didn't have an umbrella. And then, of course, last year it didn't rain. And then I bought hand warmers for his fall season. And, of course, it wasn't cold. So this is all my fault. I'm cursed. But, yes, Julie, to your point, I am in Florida. I am in lovely Hollywood, Florida, at a hotel that is shaped like a giant guitar, which is a view you don't get every day.
The Hard Rock.
The Hard Rock in Hollywood, and I'm here for the Blue Democratic Leadership Gala for the Florida Democratic Party, and I'm very excited to be here because this is a state party that is trying really, really hard to break through in a state where they are overwhelmed. They are outnumbered in terms of registered voters, and that is not something that I believe is fixed or cannot change. I think that we should not sleep on Florida. But I'm giving a presentation today with my dear friend Sam Schwartz on the value of social media and how political officials and parties, etc., DNC, I'm looking at you, can utilize social media and new media to amplify the good work that they're doing and hopefully get people registered so that we can actually flip these red states blue.
Yeah, let me say this about Florida. And Tara, you probably know this when you worked on the other side of Florida. Florida, when I was starting out in the 90s, was like a complete swing state. I think Obama won twice.
Yeah.
Clinton won it twice. And there's no reason for Florida to be red. Like there's no reason. Like there's some states I get that are going to be really, really, really hard to flip because of demographics. Florida is not one of them. And I think you're absolutely right, Joe, that the Democratic Party in Florida, I know this new chairwoman is working really, really, really hard. But I think the state party kind of just took a walk for about 15 to 20 years before before that all happened. And that's how Florida is red. And there's no, like, Florida is ripe for the picking.
So let me jump in real quick about Florida. I actually lived in Florida for a couple of years. My family had a house in the Florida Keys for 23 years. I worked on Florida congressional races. And I can tell you that as someone who was part of the Republican establishment for 27 years, Florida was a long-term plan. You know how people have like the long-term, like 20-year city plans and things like that? They did, the Republicans did this in Florida. And it really started, because in the 90s, you had Lawton Childs and Florida was a predominantly Democratic state because you had Miami-Dade and like the city areas were Democrat. And then Republicans saw the value of getting Florida and started investing, particularly after the 2000 election, and saw how close it was. If it wasn't for it started a little before that, because in the 90s when Republicans were investing in lots of places in the state and local government positions, it really paid off for them in 2000, because you saw who was the Secretary of State in 2000 that helped put George W. Bush over the line in that very close election. And from that point forward, they started investing in places like the supervisors of elections offices and state and local offices there, and because they're elected. And part of like the Go Pack approach to the from the dog catcher to the senators, you started training people on how to win, and Democrats didn't keep up with it. And now they're facing this uphill battle of trying to turn things around in Florida. But yes, but it's got to start. It was they have a 20-year head start though. Republicans there.
Seems like that's a common theme with Democrats playing catch up, and then once we catch up, we have issues on our side, and we have the non-insanity on our side. But I keep looking to the Jacksonville mayor race, which is coming up again. On us, friends. And I met a bunch of folks from the city council in Jacksonville last night, and they gave me a lot of hope. They really gave me a lot of hope for a lot of parts of Florida. But yeah, I think you're right, Tara. We Democrats, we find ourselves behind.
And Jacksonville, when I was working on the congressional campaign back many moons ago, it was in that area. It was against Corinne Brown, where if Julie, you remember her, she was a very corrupt Democratic member of Congress. She was terrible. And at the time, it was what's her name, who was lieutenant governor for a second. And anyway, that whole race was nuts. But Jacksonville is a huge district. People forget that like the Jacksonville area is one of the largest urban areas in the country, like, because it's just spread out. It's humongous. Duval County. And that's another like area where, because it's closer to Georgia, so it's a little redder than like Miami-Dade used to be. But that now Miami went red. I mean, the whole, Donald Trump, they won the Miami-Dade area, and that was because of the Cubans.
I was going to say,
how do the Cubans feel now? How do they feel now?
Yeah, I want to say that, because how do the Cubans feel now that Trump is not allowing Cubans to come to this country anymore? We used to have a what foot drive policy with Cuba, right? If you got 1 foot on American soil, you could come in, no questions asked. And that goes back to Bay of Pigs. That goes back to all of, before our time. But all of a sudden, the Cubans have become people who come from a quote unquote shithole country. So now they can't come in. So I want to know how former Florida Senator Marco Rubio feels about that. Well, I want to know how Ted Cruz feels about that. I want to know how Cubans in Miami-Dade feel about that.
Well, the thing about that really just kind of is, and I don't want to speak to something maybe that I'm not well versed in, but I watched this interview with someone, and they were interviewing Hispanic voters, and it was like how a lot of them don't see themselves as part of an immigrant community at all. And it's like that their families came here and they kind of shut the door behind them. And that's there's a mentality there that somehow it doesn't apply to them. And it's like other people, it's not them. And I'm wondering, that's the thing about the Cubans, especially in South Florida, that I've just never been able to understand. And I know that some of it's like part of when they come and they felt that they did it the right way. And, during Reagan and everything else. But like, I don't understand how you can look at what's happening now and be like, oh, cool. Like, I'm good. You know what I mean?
I
don't get it.
hear about that right way with Cubans bullshit, because I came here the right way, right? They came here on a boat lift. A lot of them. They came here on the Mariel boat lift, and they got on a boat and they got here. And the minute they touched ground, they were allowed in, which I'm thrilled about. I think that's fantastic. But that is no different than the way people come here over the border and seek asylum.
Yeah.
And all now are being sent back. I will say this. I did a focus group. I don't know if I ever talked to you guys about this. Back in 2021, right between January 6th and the inauguration, but after Biden had already won, obviously, I did a focus group of New Jersey primary Dems. And the reason I was doing it, I shouldn't say I did it. I observed it. And the reason I had commissioned it was because there was a governor's race that year, and we wanted to see what kind of shape Governor Murphy was running for re-election, who's a Democrat in New Jersey. And we did 4 focus groups. One was college-educated voters, one was non-college educated voters, one was African-American voters, and one was Latino voters. And I thought the Latino focus group was the most fascinating focus group of all. Because here's the takeaway, and I've seen this consistently over many years since with Latino focus groups. First of all, you're absolutely right, Michelle. They don't necessarily consider themselves immigrants. Their attitude is, we've been here for 2, 3, 5, 10 generations. Who the hell are you to tell us about, the illegals? That's not us. We came here. We built a life here. Don't conflate us with people who are coming here over the border. Bye, Tara. And the other thing that I thought was fascinating is that they were all about brass tacks. They were all about, where are my roads? Why are they not paved? Where is my small business? Why is it not being helped? Where are my taxes? And why are they so high? Like, they didn't want to hear about your bullshit. Like, they had no time for that stuff. And the only people who sat there, and because what Murphy had done was he had given in-state college tuition for the state universities and colleges for undocumented immigrants. And he also gave them driver's licenses, which if you're a liberal, you're completely behind. They not like that. They were like, why are these people cutting in line? We've been here for generations. Why don't we get, free college? They thought it was free college tuition. It wasn't. So there was, there's a lot of the whole, like, don't conflate us with them mentality, which I think is really interesting. And the only people who truly had sympathy for the undocumented were my cohort, the college-educated white voters, because they tended to be more affluent, and they tended to have more time on their hands to feel, to maybe think about things beyond their immediate, which was fix my shit for me now. Yeah, I think that's something Democrats need to really take stock of, because in the same way, I think free college, when Biden wanted to discharge college debt, a lot of people were like, well, I paid my money back. That's one. And 2 is most people didn't graduate college in this country. So their attitude was, why is my debt not being discharged for medical debt or mortgage debt or whatever other debt? But these rich, affluent college graduates get to have their debt discharged. It's the same kind of mentality. I think Democrats need to focus on that a little bit more.
Yeah. And I will say to this right way that we keep hearing about. And by the way, as a daughter of a Lebanese immigrant, I saw some of this myself in terms of what you were talking about the sort of not me, that's not fair. And it's like, well, if there's a lot more research on, medical treatment now. Are we supposed to deny people treatment to cancers that we couldn't cure 30 years ago?
Right.
But this right way bullshit that is used, they're using to gaslight. If that were true, we would not be watching person after person after person showing up to follow the due process and the right things that they're supposed to be doing when they're taking them from courtrooms where they're showing up and reporting because they're trying to follow the legal pathway to citizenship and asylum in this country. The right way is now being used to capture them so much
It's a trap.
Instead of doing that, they are hiding in their homes. And Democrats, as we talked about yesterday offline, Jessica Craven's really powerful video.
Yes. Yes.
Democrats are helping them hide in their homes. We've been here before, right? Not really necessarily us particularly, but society, the world has. They are it's because they're being taken and shipped off to foreign countries while trying to do the right thing while reporting. This right way narrative is a lie. It's a cruel lie, and it's a gaslighting, bullshit, propagandizing lie. Because we've seen high school kid after high school kid and parent after parent disappeared while showing up to do the right thing. The right thing.
You guys, I was on CNN on Thursday night, maybe I want to say.
I'm so sorry.
And, well, I'll get to that.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, I'll get to that in a minute. 'Cause
Scott made it back too.
Scott was not there, but a guy named Ben Ferguson was there, who I don't know if you're familiar with, but is a right-wing talk show host and, another one of these guys. And we started talking about immigration, and he says that he has a very good friend who is married to an undocumented immigrant, although he called her an illegal, which I fucking hate that term because nobody's
it's just so like dehumanizing.
Anyway, yeah.
And that's the goal. Yeah.
That's the point, I guess. But
right.
He said his friend, and he had dinner with them, and she's she should get deported because he basically said to her, "You're here illegally, therefore you should get deported." And I said, "Did you call ICE on her?" And he was like, well, and I go, "Well, if she's here illegally and you think she needs to get deported, why don't you call ICE on her?" And he's like, "Well, now she has to blah, and he kind of equivocated. And I was like, of course. Because you have no problem calling ICE on strangers. You have no problem with ICE coming to Dodger Stadium and arresting whoever they want to arrest, whether it's the ground crew, whoever the hell else it is. You have no problem with them coming into schools and into hospitals and into churches and into wherever other sanctuary places and getting them. But of course, because it's your friend's wife, even though she's an illegal, you're not going to call ICE on her. Like, the whole thing is such bullshit. And then Trump, of course, with his nonsense of like, well, you shouldn't come for them if they're on farms or they're in hospitality because that's going to impact business.
Him. Right. It's rules for thee, but not for me. It's like, as soon as it affects me, then, oh no, it's so, I'm so far. I mean, I'm very removed from my family's immigrant story. I mean, it was in the beginning of the 20th century. I've only ever read diaries and boats, ship logs and things like that. Like, I think about my, there's a family member that I read about, like, came here in like 1903 on a boat by himself, and he was like 8 years old. Like, I can't, like, the harrowing stories like you hear from then to now, and people coming here, crossing the border by foot, like the amount of despair and danger and war and suffering that people escape to come to this country is people who are born here and live their lives here. I just don't think we'll ever really fully understand. And unless you have, immediate family members who have come and done that. Let me at some point we've become an incredibly, I don't know, a different brand of cruel. I don't know.
Let me read you a note.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is true. Somebody I know posted this from a little kid who wrote this to his best friend. If ICE takes me, don't forget about me. I will be in El Salvador. You're my best friend, the brother I never had. I cry every night thinking that they will come for me at school. A++ sue me, with little pictures of cat faces and cat whiskers. You guys, like, this is the kind of shit that will have these kids in therapy, not the ones who are deported. The ones who are deported are their lives are turned upside down forever. I mean, forever. I don't know how you trust again. But the ramifications of how a generation of children is going to be thinking about their government, and their safety, about friendships.
Yep.
We have not even begun to scratch the surface.
Yep.
Of that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Joe, I don't know, do your kids have anybody?
So I was just going to actually talk about that because I actually, of all things, do a terrible Piers Morgan, but I did say that on Piers once because he was dragging Selena Gomez for her very emotional and to what was happening. And I said, why? Why are you giving this woman a hard time? We are traumatizing our young people. And I can speak to that directly because in my town, we do have a large undocumented population of people who are fully integrated into our society. They are my daughter's classmates. They are the pizza makers and the bus drivers and the taxi drivers. They are my neighbors. And when all of this first started, my daughter was crying because we had an ICE raid in our town. And all of the kids, she's 12, she was 11 at the time. All of the kids around town were texting each other on Snapchat to try and make sure that their friends knew that ICE agents were there. And Abby was crying because she was worried that her friends were going to be taken or that their parents would be taken. And then what do they do? This is the kind of thing that my kids are a small little microcosm of American children all over this country right now who, like you said, Julie, are growing up distrusting our government. Our government isn't just some oppressive force. Our government will steal their friends and their friends' families for nothing, for merely existing, for the color of their skin. And we think that that's not going to have long-ranging generational impacts. No, friends, it's not just what's happening now and the trauma that's being inflicted now. Julie, you're exactly right. This is going to echo and ripple for so long. We already have a disconnected voting population people who just want to unplug, kids in particular, and why not? But now you're going to add to that and exacerbate that by making them hate our government and mistrust our government and live in fear. That is also the point. That is by design. None of this is accidental. And we have a lot of work to do to heal this country, and we have to figure out how we combat what they're doing with messaging that is hopeful and promising and encouraging and not oppressive and terrifying and scary. But this, just to this last point I'll make about this, what we're doing to our young people. Abby, again, 12 years old, and last week she woke up and she said, if they nuke New York City, Mom, will we die? Will we die? Same daughter who, by the way, in the morning after the election in 24, called me crying because her friends were texting her that I was going to have to leave the country because they were going to come and round me up. This is what we are doing. And it's not because I'm politically engaged. Maybe that was, but as a whole, when you've got 10 and 12-year-olds texting each other that there are ICE agents coming for their friends, that's a problem. That's a problem of Republicans making, and we have to do everything we can to combat that while calling it out at the same time.
You're absolutely right. And go ahead, Michelle.
No, I was going to say, and this is where it's, we have to remind people that the Holocaust began as an industrialized deportation effort with Jews and others, and mostly Jews. And as that was the final solution, right? And it was somebody like Stephen Miller who looked at a group of folks and said, off they go. And then they, and they did it outside Germany. So they didn't have to do, deal with any, first of all, Germans, and also different set of laws as they were invading other countries. And, they would run out of room. And then the detention camps became extermination camps. Again, an industrialized extermination of an entire group of people. Now, again, I always say the lack of imagination is a very dangerous thing. And I don't know what's happening to these people when they leave. None of us do. We have no idea.
Let me tell you something to your point, Michelle. I went to Berlin for the first time in 1993. I was 20 years old. This is 1993. This is almost 40 years after the end, 50 years after the end of World War II. And the only thing that I could think, literally the only thing that I could think at the age of 20 was anybody that I saw over the age of 70. I kept thinking, and what were you doing during the war? And in retrospect, I realized that's unfair. But as a 20-year-old, my only thought, seeing anybody who might have been in their 20s or older, or even teenagers during the war, was, what role did you play? Because I'm Jewish. What role did you play in trying to kill me? And the other thought that I had that was very odd was, if I were walking down the street right now, this is a big street called Unter der Linden, which goes past the Reichstag. It's kind of like their Fifth Avenue. And I was thinking, if I were walking down the street 50 years ago, I would have been snatched up, sent to Auschwitz, and killed, right? So that is, I'm not even German. And I
Mhm.
was certainly not around during World War II. And then 2 generations later, that was the thought that was going through my head. What do you think any Latino, or frankly, any immigrant, doesn't have to be somebody from South and
Yeah.
Central, who comes here in 20, 40, 50, 60 years is going to think about us when they
Yeah.
see us hobbling around in our 70s and 80s and saying, what did you do?
Right. And we bringing this back kind of full circle, like we were talking about calling them illegals, right? This other prong that is so important, where I actually see this on the other side of things in my kids' peer groups as well. There are kids who are passing around memes, about deportation being good, and about, like terrible, horrible memes that my son will show me that kids put up on Snapchat that are
Yeah.
disgusting and reprehensible. But what they're being fed steadily, by the way, this is another thing my son said to me. He's like, no matter what I do, Turning Point ends up on my feed, which is terrifying.
Right.
Son's not looking for that.
My son, same thing. He goes, who's Charlie Kirk? I go, what?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. My kids know who Charlie
Mm.
Kirk is, and they're 12 and 15. And luckily, my daughter also knows that the clip of Charlie Kirk telling girls they should go to college to find husbands is a bunch
Yep.
of bullshit. But I'm deprogramming, right? So but there is another side of this that is so fucking terrifying and important, and it is that dehumanization. Again, history may not repeat itself, but it certainly does rhyme. And Julie, you're right, and Michelle, you're right. We've talked about this lack of imagination. This idea that we could look at what is happening, that we can look at mothers being taken, that we can look at men lining up outside of Home Depot, day laborers who are just trying to survive, to thrive in a country that never made a promise to anybody, but like they believe in the promise it's making to them, right? We're looking at people being able to watch that, being able to listen to a Jessica Craven telling a story about her friend's neighbor being taken after 30 years with his
I have the
disabled
video.
wife. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's play that, and let's talk about how there are people in this country who can look at this and feel nothing
Mhm.
because they've been subjected to the kind of propaganda and gaslighting that pulls their humanity away. So yeah, please show that.
Let's also explain
Yeah.
who Jessica Craven is first, Michelle.
I want
Oh,
people.
sorry. Go ahead.
No, just explain who she is first.
Oh no, Jessica Craven. She lives in Los Angeles. She is, I hate to use the word influencer, but she's like a social media commentator in the political space, not too unlike Joe. And she's, involved and she informs her audience, and she's on TikTok and Instagram for the most part. And, everybody knows her. She's on some group chats that I'm on for the DNC creator space, and she's just really great. So, I guess I'll keep playing it here if that's cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
People who don't live in Los Angeles to hear what we are going through right now. I was just talking to my girlfriend, making plans for later tonight, and she said, oh, by the way, my neighbor got taken today by ICE. My neighbor got taken. He's lived here for 30 years, at least. She was like, at least 30 years. He has 4 grown children. They were all born here. He lives with his wife, who is disabled. She said, I don't know what she's going to do. I literally don't know what his wife is going to do. They took him and they put him on a plane to El Salvador. I can't describe what is happening in this city right now. We are trying to raise money to give street vendors so they and their families can stay home. Do you know what that sounds like? Do you remember last year when I went to Amsterdam and went to Anne Frank's apartment and looked at the fucking history of that girl and her family hiding in their apartment? Now we are making families here hide. Children, our community is being torn apart. The cruelty is staggering. It is not producing anything. It is not helping anything. You're not going to get a fucking job because of what they're doing here. Your life won't improve because of what they're doing here. When people are hiding in their apartments from the federal government, something has gone wrong. If you are a Christian and you are still supporting this, you've lost your mind. Absolute brutality happening in Los Angeles right now. I don't even have a good way to end this. Absolute brutality.
Yep.
Jessica
Okay.
is a friend of mine, and she is not a tremendously emotional person. She's
No.
not. I'm
Yeah.
a crier. Jessica's not.
She
really.
never breaks, ever. She never breaks.
And
and she-
what? Yeah. Sorry. I'm sorry, Michelle. Yeah.
No,
go
no,
ahead.
no, no. Please keep going. Please.
Just what she raises there. I've decided I'm going to write a Substack about this today. What she raises there is this question that so many of us keep circling, which is how does this awfulness, how does this cruelty, how does it help you? How is your life better? How are you winning? Because I keep seeing these gifs of Donald Trump doing the double-fisted jerk and twist in my replies to horrible, abject, unabashed, unabated, relentless cruelty. And you tell me to cry harder. I want to know, what are you winning? What are you gaining? How is your life better? How is a job you were never going to get suddenly yours? How is a spot in a college your kid was never going to get suddenly theirs? How is your income better? How are your prices lower? They're not. They're not. So what you're learning is that other people's suffering doesn't have to mean anything. It can just be for the sake of suffering. It can just be so that someone else, they, them, those people, is subjected to something you don't think is coming for you. And it is, because that's how this shit works. Because you were not born with an all-access pass to Club Roligarch, friends. You were born to end up on the same fucking side of this shit as everyone you are cheering for now. And I am sick and tired of those fuckers in my replies telling me to cry harder because a child's mother was taken to another country she fled because she was afraid for her life. Jessica's landed on that there in this incredibly powerful and moving video, and I think we have to keep reminding each other about our humanity and the cruelty, because the second we really lose that, it's all over. It's all over.
Yeah.
Also, I will tell you what it's about. I will tell you what they think they're getting, and I know this from the decade that I spent at Fox News. And I, with every fiber of my being, I know this is the answer to your question, Joe. And you're a normal person, and you're not mentally deranged, so you don't understand what they believe. The advantage to this for them is that they're owning you. They're owning the libs. The whole point is that you're crying. That's it. It is not making their life is being made better because your life is being made worse. Right? It's not a rising tide lifts all boats mentality. It's at least I'm not doing as well. At least I'm not crying. Maybe I'm not doing well. Maybe I'm still working in the coal mine. Maybe I'm still getting black lung disease. Maybe I'm not getting a job. Maybe my marriage is falling apart. Maybe my kids are addicted to drugs. Maybe I'm an alcoholic. All of that is true. But you know what? At least I'm owning the libs.
Yep.
And you know, if I'm going to do a Substack about anything, actually, it's going to be about that. That is the raison d'etre. I'm sorry to use French terminology. It's words that I should swear to myself. Like, bad word. That is the reason for being. That is their existence. It is to own the libs. The whole point is that Jessica Craven is crying. That makes them feel good. The whole point, Joe, is that you are crying. And I'm crying, and Michelle is crying. That makes them feel good. That's it. That's the Trump ascent. That is how Trump became Trump. I don't even expect him to solve their problems. They're not stupid. I mean, they're a little stupid, but they're not totally stupid. They know he's not going to solve all their problems magically.
Yeah.
But you know what? God damn it. He's making Joanne Carducci cry. And that's good enough for them. Because Joanne Carducci's been on her moral high horse, in their mind, making $1 zillion, trolling them. And now they're going to be trolling her.
Yeah.
The complete and utter disconnect between the reality that they think we all live. The fact that they all think that if we have college degrees, that we're sitting there in our ivory tower smoking at them and making fun of them, which I have never met anybody who I would ever want to be around with a college degree who ever mocks anybody who doesn't have a college degree, but they all think we do. They all think we mock them because they don't make, $1 billion, because they all think we do. I don't know why they think that. Nobody on this chat makes $1 billion, but they all think
no, not even. And the irony here is the people who are leading this movement all have Ivy League degrees or Ivy League adjacent degrees. Yale, Harvard, UPenn. I mean, it's the
Dude.
irony here, and yet you look at somebody like Joe Biden. I forget where he went to undergrad, and then he went to Syracuse Law School. I mean, like the most blue collar, normal guy, and yet he's the elitist. But they and if they're not calling him an elitist, they're calling him a senile dummy, idiot. It's just, and that's the thing is like, I sometimes think that liberals or I shouldn't say liberals, but people on the left or people in the opposition sometimes try to shapeshift in order to, counter this. Like, well, if they're doing this, so I'm going to be this. It doesn't matter what we do. They're going to find another way in to insult us or attack us or say things about us that aren't true, or, mock our vulnerabilities as human beings. And I think that's part of this too, is like, and I think the three of us here can agree that no matter what it is that they do, we can never lose our humanity.
Yeah.
We can never lose our ability to be choked up or to cry about something that is awful, and to show other people that we have human emotions, because the second that we stop doing that and we harden ourselves to the point that we can't express anymore, I mean, it's really gone.
But it's also about not taking responsibility, right? It's also about like, my life sucks because those illegals came here and did, to your point, Joe, did what to you? Take your job that you were going to be picking strawberries in the fields? Like, what exactly did they do?
Right.
Like, were you going to be delivering DoorDash in New York City? Like, what did they do to you? But nevertheless, my life would be great if not for.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, again, like, and I have to jump in a second to go to some events here, but like the way that they will twist themselves, the ones that we really can't reach, but there are some that I think that we can, who are sort of sitting in this maybe sort of gray, maybe, but they will twist themselves into whatever kind of pretzels they need to in order to accommodate the worst of themselves, right? So if it is celebrating terrible things happening to brown people because it's not happening to them, then that, even though they're like, is like logically, is that really helping me? I'm not going to really think about that. But they've twisted themselves into such a pretzel that their melon-hued messiah is a silver spoon born, gilded tower raised billionaire who paints himself orange, wears lifts in his shoes, a goddamn diaper and a girdle, has a cotton candy comb over from the 6 fucking remaining hairs on his head. He's a big, flaccid, squishy ball of fucking ass pick, and they will look at him and say, for the working class and the uber male, this is the kind of pretzel they have to twist themselves into to accommodate believing that he gives a shit about them when he doesn't. So if they can do that, if they can make you look at an Elon Musk, who again looks like a beluga whale that washed up on the shore, and say, that's the guy who cares about waste, fraud, and abuse. That's the guy who cares about me making a better life for my family. And Donald Trump as some champion of the working class, someone who literally sees everyone he interacts with as disposable and dispensable, particularly those people who offer him nothing. And outside of your book, which you've already given him, you offer him nothing. They will do whatever it takes to convince themselves that what they already fundamentally think they believe jives with what reality is. And that's that cognitive dissonance piece that the Republicans have been so adept at by feeding into your worst impulses, by feeding into this idea that you were promised something you didn't get because of someone else. And like, Democrats, to battle that is the real challenge, I believe, because like to go in there and somehow be able to get them to see something they physically, psychologically cannot see, which is reality. We just went through this where Joe Biden's economy was the strongest among our peer nations. They saw our economy is tanking. Our economy is tanking right now. Inflation is rising. Jerome Powell just said We should expect it to continue. We should expect it, jobless claims to continue. But they will tell you that the economy is strong. This is the machinery we're up against. But also, like, to break a lot of that spell just requires constant storytelling, constant
Yes.
showing people where they are, that people like them are walking a reality they don't want to accept, and that's hard.
Yeah.
But that's the work we have to do. That's the work we have to do.
And also, and I know you need to go, Joe, but like that's where the storytelling in comparison to this other side of the coin there is the explaining. And Democrats are doing way too much explaining.
Yeah.
Stop explaining things to people. Stop.
Yeah.
You can give, I think we can give bullet points of things that are most important, but otherwise we have to tell human stories, because it is not until you can put yourself in the shoes of other people and see how they are suffering, or how they are, feeling the effects of something else, that maybe you can change their heart, because you have to change this first before you can get here.
Yeah.
And that it's just so important. And if I see one more video from a Democrat talking to the camera for 6 minutes explaining the highfalutin policy language stuff, like I'm like, nobody understands what you're talking about and no one cares. Everyone's eyes have glazed over. Like, stop. But if you tell stories about actual human beings and talk in plain language to people, I mean, I feel like I'm losing my mind and taking crazy pills. Like, and we're always catching up. We're always trying to catch up, because again, the Republicans never take a day off. MAGA never takes a day off. And so we spend all this time, just sitting on our hands and doing nothing. I'm not us, but I'm saying Democrats, because the four of us, like, we're always on it. And they're so set in their ways that they don't want to change and they don't want to adjust. And it's maddening, because things are dire. This is life and death, and this is the future of the republic. And if it survives at all, and they're just like la di da, I can't.
Well, here's what Republicans understood, and Democrats, for some god awful reason, still don't get. Right? Like, as somebody who comes out of the campaign world, everybody talks about how they hate negative campaign ads. Everybody hates negative campaigning. Guess what?
They work.
The reason you see it all the time, it works. And I promise you poll test a couple of ads, you could have nice ones about me explaining policy to you, or I can have one with somebody burning your house down, and I guarantee you the one with burning your house down is going to resonate more. It just is. And what Republicans have done so effectively is they've tapped into the anger. If you look at Fox, their entire 24/7 lineup is anger.
Yeah, they're foaming at the mouth over there.
Everybody's constantly angry about something. Like, I would wake up in the morning whenever I get the rundown, I was like, what are we angry about today in the show? And it was like literally 5 blocks of anger about something. We're sitting there, and I blame, Rachel Maddow, not my cup of tea, and I'll tell you why. She'll sit there for 37 minutes explaining
that A block, man. Woof.
Yeah, that A block going into, back in 1934. I don't give a pass about 1934.
It's like a podcast. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, like it's like reading a New York Times article out loud, right? And my whole thing, tell me what I'm angry about today. Rally the troops to go to the barricades. That's what we need. Rally the troops to go to the barricades. Don't give me an explainer for the last 70 years as to how we got here. I don't really give a rat's ass how we got here. That is for the historians to figure out. My job is for you to get pissed off to go vote.
Well, Joe. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, before I go, but 2 things to that really fast, Julie, and I can give you an example in real time of what you're talking about. But by the way, that is my strategy, and if I were to advise any Democrat elected official, it is that. So I want to tell one anecdotal story, and then, well, 2. The first one, to your point about all they want is to be angry. I was at the gym during the last election on a treadmill next to 2 ladies who were having a conversation, 2 middle-aged white ladies having a conversation, because a political ad came up, and one of them turned to the other one and said, Sue Altman is a radical. And then the other one turned to her and said, yeah, but do you know why? And she's like, I don't know, but I just know she's a radical and I'm not voting for her. That's it. That's all it was. That's all it took. They labeled her a radical because one time she tweeted about defunding the police, which, by the way, I've never tweeted about, to my trolls out there who say that I have. Bullshit. Bring the receipts, because I never did. Reform the police is what I've said, and I believe that Sue Altman has said that that's what actually she meant in retrospect. Yada yada yada. But that was enough. That was all it took. Enough people who were not dialed in enough saw ad after ad. We saw this with Kamala. It's for they them. We saw that. So that Julie, you're exactly right. So Sue Altman lost in part because all they did was have to slap that label on her and that off to the races. My anecdotal story for where we are now, and somebody understanding, hi, because we had this conversation, friend, understanding that in the moment of crisis, you get to you're out there all the time and you meet the moment with the same force. You meet the moment with the same intensity. You get in the muck and the mud. Hi, Gavin Newsom. Yes, I'm talking to you. You don't sit back and have a podcast with Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon. You go out there and you give it right the fuck back to them.
Which
You
he is now.
And he is now, and it has been very successful. And he's been getting kudos for it, even from me, because Julie, you're so right. And this is the thing about the Democratic Party that is infuriating to me, is that they've turned themselves the other side into a goddamn cult of personality where they worship a melted Oompa Loompa who doesn't stand for anything, who's not even a fucking Republican, because they are able to adapt. Meanwhile, my party is still talking like it's 1986, and they won't give up. So many of them will not give up their holds on power and influence. Why? Not because they want to actually promote the party or the values of the party, because of the dollar bills. That's it, plus also access and power. But they're not letting our party move forward because they lose literally financially if we do. And we could talk about that all day long because that is something that drives me absolutely crazy.
As we should.
My party is not adapting the way that they should, but Gavin Newsom is a good example of why coming back with the same force that they are serving makes a difference, even if it doesn't necessarily fundamentally change anything. The Democrats see that they have a fighter and someone who speaks plainly, which he usually does, but he's very good at it, and somebody who is not going away quietly, not bending the knee, not obeying in advance, and he's telling you every day. And that's why Donald Trump cannot fucking figure out how to kneecap him enough. He's going out after wildfire recovery efforts, funding, et cetera, et cetera. He's already dumped his water. He's talking about defunding California, blah, blah, blah. Good luck. Like California doesn't need us as much as we need them. But I just want to say that if I were to advise, and I tried them all every day of my life, Julie, it is exactly that. You have to go at them. It's the time for being polite is over. I know when you get in the mud with the pig likes it, but then you get the fuck out of the mud and you leave the pig down there to rot. That's what we need to do. We need people to speak plainly and to meet this moment with the same kind of fervor that the Republicans are bringing every day.
Well, you know what I think, Joe, before you go, and I'm going to leave you with this, and I'm going to shut up. There is a vacancy for a Democrat running in the 7th Congressional District of New Jersey against Congressman Tom Kaine, and I think Joanne Carducci should consider him. So I would say,
Lord knows, nobody. I mean, that's. Yeah,
I'll let you go. I'll let you sleep on that one.
I just have one question for you, Joe, because
Sue Altman's a radical, you're not, and I paint you that way. But I guarantee you, I know Tom Kaine, and I know you would kick his ass.
I would very much like that, but I don't know. I don't know if you guys saw my Gmail inbox, you'd be like, Joe can't do that.
You know what? Nobody. I don't really. Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
I don't think these things matter anymore, quite frankly. But I just have one question for you, Joe, because the Rose Garden thing, just really quick, paving over Jackie Kennedy's Rose Garden. Now, I made a video about this and put it on my Instagram, and it has gone viral.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes. I woke up this morning and I was like, oh my God. And I put it to the last track on the Camelot cast recording because obviously, and used some archival footage of Jackie and JFK and John and Caroline playing. And because I think that the paving over the Rose Garden isn't just about the Rose Garden. I think it's an example of just more, I'm dead inside, I'm Donald Trump, and I don't care about anything, and I don't care about history, I don't care about the American people, I don't care about, anything. And that's, I made that video, and I know that you've posted about it too, Joe, because I've seen actually your tweet, embedded in a ton of news articles about this when I was actually looking for stuff about it. I'm getting 3 kinds of responses. One of the responses is, I agree with you. The other one is some people who don't know me and are like, oh, you're not upset about people kidnapping children off the street, but the Rose Garden upsets you. And I'm like, yeah, okay. The third is the MAGA people. Now they're coming to me saying, oh, white lady tears about a rose garden. Get over it. It's just grass. It doesn't matter. Blah, blah, blah. And like, that's the thing. But can you imagine if it was like, I don't know, Melania's garden and Jill Biden paved over it or something? Like it has more to do with like Jackie and like the history and like, you know, it's the people's house. It's not Donald Trump's house. He doesn't own it, and he's not Saddam Hussein. I mean, yet at least. But the reaction to that from the right has been very interesting and very telling to, again, the lack of moral center that all of them have and the lack of respect for history.
The reason they're so triggered by it, the reason they're so outraged by it is because it hits something that they cannot recognize in themselves, which is, it bothers me. This isn't who we are, right? Like in there somewhere, they can't recognize it because they've been programmed to a point where like actually sitting with their own realities and their own reactions to things and their own moral center, right? Doing that is something they can't do, because if they do that, then everything falls apart around it. So they're looking. No one can look at a photograph of the rose garden, the grass in the rose garden, the grass that Jackie Kennedy had put in place. No one can look at those pictures of bulldozers dragging it up, digging it up, flattening it, turning into this cold space. No one can look at those pictures and be like, that's right, that's America.
Right.
We can gaslight about the giant, you know, used car dealership flags all day long.
Well, and also the technicality. They're like, well, they didn't technically take up the flowers. I go, yes, they did. Melania ripped up the flowers during the last administration, and now they're ripping up the rest of it.
Let's know what that's about. That is because Jackie Kennedy was on the cover of Vogue, and Jackie Kennedy was perceived to be the perfect first lady. And he feels like Melania, not because he gives a shit about Melania, but because she's an ornament to him, is not getting the same respect from the same cognoscenti that he thinks that Jackie Kennedy was getting support from. Why is Anna Wintour not putting her on the cover of Vogue? She put Jill Biden on the cover of Vogue.
Yeah.
Why is Melania not getting all these covers? Why is Melania not being dressed by these designers? Why is Melania not being treated the way Jackie was? That's what that's about, right? If you're not going to give me the respect that I deserve / Melania, who, again, let me stress again, not that he gives a shit about her getting any kind of respect, but because she is an appendage to him. If she's not going to get that kind of respect, then I'm going to destroy all that which you're going to compare her to.
Well,
Lynn, if you remember the first inauguration, she came in with the very best Jackie Kennedy impression with a glove.
Yeah.
Great, by the way. And the whole point was she's the new Jackie Kennedy, and nobody bought into that shit. Well, if she's not going to be the new Jackie Kennedy, let's destroy the old Jackie Kennedy.
Well, because she's, first of all, she's no, she did not come through an Einstein visa, friends. She's been in this country as the daughter of a Lebanese immigrant who spoke broken English until he passed away. I understand this, but she came into this country on an Einstein visa and can barely string together a sentence in English now. Okay, like the honest God. She struggles to read every script she has. She plagiarized Michelle Obama's speech, by the way, or had her people do it. She's married to Donald Trump. So let's just, this is not a genius. They're trying to package her into this genius. But the thing is, because authenticity is everything, the American people know, yeah, she's attractive. Sure, she's got big fake tits and, you know, hair.
Right.
Plastic surgery up the wazoo and new heart, kidneys, whatever. But Julie, what this is also about is Donald Trump slaps a goddamn fucking Trump on every fucking thing he touches. It can be the size of the building in Chicago itself, and he can't yet, I stress yet, do that to the White House. He can't yet put a big fucking neon sign.
He's gonna try.
Right, Barack Obama, remember, one of the original sins here is at one of the correspondence dinners, Barack Obama made fun of Donald Trump long before he ran for president with this funny picture of the White House with a neon sign on it that said Trump. And the whole crowd laughed at him. And oh, Lordy, does the narcissistic sociopath not like that? So he was hell-bent on retribution of every kind. But the joke is not so funny because we are really not so far away from that reality. So because he can't do it yet, what is he doing? He's pulling out his little peen, his little freaking mushroom peen, and he's pissing all over our house, a house that I could cry thinking about. You trolls are going to love this because I'm probably going to cry again because it is sacred. It is a space of reverence. It does not belong to any man or any woman or any administration. It belongs to us. It was built on the backs of slaves, and we have to treat it with more respect than that motherfucker And by the way, I don't know if people saw it. Spoiler alert, if you saw the Captain America movie that recently came out, there's a scene where the Rose Garden and part of the West Wing is destroyed. And I was watching it with my kids and I started crying because I was worried that it was like actually prophetic.
Yeah.
And here we are. Wasn't some evil Hulk. It's this piece of shit who is so inferior, so small in the pants, so unexceptional, so incurious as to our American history, doesn't give a fuck that because he can't slap his name on something yet, he needs to destroy it and model it in his image in some way, shape, or form. And he's doing that to our building, friends. It doesn't belong to him. And I do have to go. But like it's about accommodating his mail order fucking besting birther bride's fucking ego, but it is about slapping his fucking name on everything. And as we know, one thing that Rick Wilson says that is right is that everything Trump touches dies, and the White House is
Not
included
wrong.
on that list.
Yep.
Yeah. What I said on my post is he doesn't love America. He hates America, and he remakes it in his own image, cheap, cruel, and dead inside.
Yep. That's
Yep.
exactly right. That's exactly right. Joe,
So,
go get
Joe,
'em.
we love you.
We're going to start a IE for Carducci for Congress, whether you like it.
I'm
I'm
going to start a PAC for your
If
exploratory
anybody wants to
committee.
donate to it, we can't coordinate with Joe anyway, so we're just going to
Right.
start it.
I
and-
just want to debate Tom Kane, but he won't debate anybody, so that's not going to happen. But I would, if no run required, I would very much just like to put him on.
We'll ambush him, Joe. I know where he hangs out. We're totally going to do it. You're totally
Okay.
run. I don't care whether you like it or not. Enjoy Florida. Come back to New Jersey. We're going to run you. All right.
Joe.
Michelle,
Yeah.
on that note, while we say goodbye to Joe, I have a dilemma, my fellow New Yorker
Oh.
here.
Okay.
We have a mayor's primary on Tuesday. And if anybody here in the chat wants to provide some advice,
Girl.
all right, you guys, here's the dilemma. I'm not sleeping over this, which is a problem.
I mean, I did see that you texted the group chat at 4:00 in the morning. And I was like, she's either having insomnia or she's super jet lagged still, or all the above, or she's stressed out.
It's all of the above, plus stressed out, plus still
Yeah.
kind of recovering from my little escape from missile fire experience.
Mm.
Plus waking up at 3 a.m. being like, what do I have all this stuff I have to do. So one of the things I have to do is decide what I'm doing. And so for people who don't know, New York City has ranked choice voting. So you don't just vote for one, you vote
Yeah.
for 5, and you really have to rank them, because if you don't rank them, your vote's not as important.
Mm-hmm.
What is also apparent is you have to rank one of the 2 front runners, because if you don't, it's like voting third party almost, and your vote's
I refuse. I refuse. I won't do it.
you have to, because
I won't. I'm not
otherwise,
gonna.
no, but then it's like voting like for Ross Perot.
Well, I mean, yes and no, but like, I mean, 4 years ago when I had to walk into the voting booth and choose between Curtis Siwa and Eric Adams, I refused to fill in the blanks. I just refuse.
I know. I voted for Eric Adams, and my husband voted for Eric Adams, and we walked out of the voting booth, looked at each other, and said, we both know we just made a big mistake, but
Mhm.
life is about choices, right? And I've always
Yeah.
said that to people. I've always said that to people specifically who didn't vote for Kamala Harris because of Gaza.
I
You
know.
know what?
I
Life's
know.
a series of choices. So if
But-
you don't
but-
vote for Kamala Harris because of Gaza, you just elected Donald Trump. So I feel like I have to rank either Cuomo, parentheses, the man who subpoenas women's gynecological records as retaliation, and parentheses, or is it Mondawi, parentheses, globalized intifada, close parentheses. I am literally beside myself. I don't know what to do. If anybody here has any ideas how to make me feel.
Mary's asking to please explain rank voting.
Yeah, so ranked choice voting, New York passed this thing where ranked choice voting is
Mm-hmm.
that you have, let's say, 10 candidates, and you rank them, so that if let's say you have 4 candidates running, right, and you want to vote for Tara, of the 4 of us,
Mm-hmm.
you'd rank Tara first, and then you'd rank Michelle second, and then you'd rank JoJo third, and you'd rank me 4th, right? If I come in 4th for everybody, my votes go away, and then the people who ranked me first, whoever they rank second, let's say they rank second, those votes go to Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, if Michelle's Michelle then is last, then whoever ranked her first, whoever she ranked second, let's say it's Tara, those votes go to Tara, and so on and so forth until they win. So the problem is that you kind of have to do this, because if you just vote for, I'm going to make this up, Brad Lander, who's the comptroller who's running,
who
for
I
mayor.
love, and I'm
Right.
going to rank him number one.
I am too, but like if you vote for him, if he doesn't come in first, ultimately the votes go away to the point where it's going to be probably between Cuomo and this guy Mandawi.
Ugh.
And yeah, and so the choice is: do you vote for Cuomo? Do you vote for Mandawi? And I just realized my boobs are totally hanging out. And I'm also still wearing my PJs, by the way.
Good
And
for you.
thank you. And so the question is, like, what do I do here? And you're so right. Oh no, you asked, why does New York City have the worst candidates in a city?
I would
of
love to
9
know.
million people. Why, oh why can we not get somebody good to run?
I said to my husband 4 years ago, because first of all, I was screaming from the rooftops during the primary, being like, do not rank Eric Adams. Do not rank Eric Adams. I was a Catherine Garcia person. Maya Wiley is great too. I mean, listen, we had some good choices. Ray McGuire.
Yep.
There was some great choices. Unfortunately, the city chose Eric Adams. And I just knew. I was like, this is going to be a problem. If he makes it through his term, it'll be a miracle, because he's going to be brought up on ethics charges and all kinds of other corruption stuff. And then he was. And he's still there because nothing matters anymore. But I said to my husband, I was like, listen, if the Democrats are smart, now here's where the ranked choice voting thing kind of like is not helpful. If the Democrats had kind of come together and banded together to fight him or whomever else, I think that it could have been more effective. But unfortunately now it's like there's alliances and people have to cross endorse and things like that. So there's no collective push to out the corruption. There's no collective push to do any of that, because everyone feels like they kind of have to be nice to each other. But more than anything, I would say the slate of all the candidates is anti-Cuomo, which causes a lot of other problems for the Jewish population of New York City as well, because people, I mean, I would say that the people in my life, I don't know about you, Julie, are pretty split between Mamdani. I'm murdering his name and I'm sorry. Mamdani and Cuomo. And I've had people yell at me for saying that I don't want to rank Zoran and that I will not support his candidacy. I considered it for a second because I saw how well he did in the debate, and he took Cuomo to task, and it was like satisfying to watch. And I thought, who's this guy? This seems great. And he's, just so people know, he's an assembly member. He's 33 years old. He's a bit of a Nepo baby and used to be a rapper. And he is a member of the Democratic Socialists of America.
And he will not explain to us what he means by globalizing the Intifada.
Well, right. And then he dictated and said, well, it's, because he was on the Bulwark with Tim Miller, and Tim Miller really, he asked him about it. He's like, are you comfortable with language like that? Like, how do you defend that? And he kind of doubled down and was like, well, it's not what Jewish people think it is, basically, and I'm paraphrasing, kind of dictating, to the Jewish community that they shouldn't be upset because it's not what they think it means, which did not go over well.
What does it mean?
Right. It was like, well, it's resistance. It's this, listen, the whole thing is just, and here's the binary choice situation that comes in, is that because I said I didn't want to support Zoran's candidacy, I am now supportive of baby killing and genocide, and I support a rapist, and I do this. And I'm like, no. We can have many thoughts. We can think in nuance and context and all kinds of other things. We can think critically, right? We're able to do this. I don't like Cuomo either. He's another one. I've been shouting from the rooftops before he even announced his exploratory committee or whatever it was. They're both terrible choices, in my opinion. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, somebody here said I voted for Eric Adams over Maya Wiley. No, I didn't. I was talking about the general election where he was a candidate, and he ran against a guy named Curtis Sliwa, who is a crazy Trumper who I know.
Oh, he's nuts.
He's a wackadoodle guardian angels guy. Insane.
And he's going to be the Republican nominee again.
So no, please don't misunderstand me. I did not vote for Eric Adams over Maya Wiley until the general election. But I mean, the fact that Andrew Cuomo is back, like as somebody who runs a nonprofit, literally is the last nonprofit standing in the Me Too space.
Yeah.
How the hell are we here? And how is it that all these women who called him to resign 4 years ago are suddenly now like, I'm back and okay, I'm going to endorse Andrew Cuomo?
It's wild.
What is wrong with you?
This is where all the men complaining about the Me Too movement are like, it's not fair and everyone's just canceled and you ruin our lives. Really? Then why are you all coming back?
Canceled.
Why are you all zombieing back into our space? Cuomo, Kevin Spacey. I mean, like the list goes
Bill
on.
O'Reilly, all these people. Listen, let me tell you something. The minute that Bill O'Reilly left Fox News, within 5 minutes, everybody's like, where's Bill O'Reilly going to land next? Where is he going to go next? Nobody's asking where the women who left Fox News because of Bill O'Reilly are going to land.
No one cares.
What? None of them landed anywhere. Not one. I know them all. Not one landed anywhere. Yep. Bill O'Reilly is on News Nation, which is the place to go if you have had any kind of Me Too issues. So it's just absurd. I don't get it. I don't understand what's going on. It makes no sense.
Well, and here's the other thing. And the other part of this is that normally in the Trump era, right? Because we've had several Republican mayors in New York City, for however people feel about them. I didn't mind Mike Bloomberg, but we're gonna have a three-way race here because Cuomo. Let's say Cuomo wins the Democratic primary. Cuomo, Eric Adams is running as an independent, and then we have Curtis Siwa. Now, if Zoran wins, Andrew Cuomo has already said that he's going to run on another line. So there's a chance that we're for sure going to have a three-way race. There's a chance we could have a four-way race. And that, I don't know who wins that. I don't know who wins that.
If Zoran wins, Eric Adams becomes the mayor again.
Yep.
Because there's no way that any member of the Jewish community is going to vote for that guy over Eric Adams. Which again is heartbreaking because Eric Adams has gone full on Trump. Like,
oh, he's terrible.
He's terrible, and has been a horrible mayor, by the way, a terrible mayor.
What does he do? What does he do? Nobody knows. Right, he goes to the club.
Yeah,
that's all he does.
So I don't understand. You're absolutely right. In a city of 9 million people, how we ended up with this shit show. But Tuesday is around the corner, and I got to make a decision. I just don't know what to do, but I feel compelled to rank one of them because, again, if I don't, I'm kind of throwing away my vote. So I don't know. It's very upsetting. And if anybody,
it's very upsetting.
Yeah, it's just awful, and I cannot believe this is the position that we're in. And again, this is a Democratic primary in the era of Donald Trump. You'd think the fucking talent, sorry, Dad, would be better. And why are good people not running for office? I can answer that question because who wants to run in this kind of environment?
Right.
But nevertheless, I will run anybody. I will literally come out of retirement and pro bono your campaign if you are a good candidate for anything.
Well, and here's the other part of this is that the people who I think actually could be good mayors are polling at like 2%. And Adrienne Adams is Speaker of the City Council. She's the head of the City Council. Zellner Mayeri is also fantastic. I love him. Brad Lander is great. He is a workhorse. He's currently the New York City Comptroller. He was a city council member before that. He's done incredible work for Gowanus in Brooklyn. The list goes. I mean, Michael Blake, sometimes, I don't mean this personally to him because I think he's a really, really nice person. He's incredibly smart, but sometimes is a little bit like over the top, but still could have been fine. Scott Stringer used to be New York City Comptroller. I used to be the vice president of the club that he was a member of with Jerry Nadler and like all those people. But somebody was writing here too. It's like, why did Clyburn come out for Cuomo? I don't know. And I didn't even know that happened, actually.
I don't know. Yeah. Listen, and oh no, you wrote Cynthia Nixon should have run again. No, she shouldn't, because Cynthia Nixon.
God, no.
No clue how to run anything. She's an actress. Like, we stopped celebrity stuff?
I used to be an actress too, but
But you've
I
done stuff, Michelle. You've done more in your life than being an actress.
yeah, true.
Like,
Well,
you
here. I played this on our show on Thursday night, and Tara and I had a very big and long laugh about this. But Eric Adams, to your point, Julie, to all of our points, I couldn't tell you one thing he's done other than go to the club and shut down entire city blocks with his Suburbans so that he can go to the club.
Yep.
And he posted on his Twitter the other day, come with me while I get stuff done. And I would love for you to watch it. Have you seen this?
No, please.
Oh, this is good. This is good.
Okay, got it. So I'm gonna go into a private meeting. Take care. Right.
The end.
Shut up. Is this he made this? This isn't like a joke?
No, it's not a joke.
Oh my god. Are you kidding me? Hey, do you guys want to go with me while I get stuff done? I'm going to go to the kitchen right now, make another cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Come
Come
back.
with me while I get stuff done. Also known as I get in my Suburban, we ride around, I do a whole lot of nothing. Somebody hands me my jacket, and then I go home and
Take some
make
vitamins.
coffee and take some vitamins.
Oh my god.
When I saw that, I was like, you have got to be. It
It's
is
something-
like so on the nose. That's the mayor that he is. That is him in a nutshell.
But wait a second. Somebody did that video for him. Like there's somebody in his
who
life-
doesn't know what they're doing, quite frankly.
there's somebody in his life who obviously is out to murder him because there's no way that anybody worth anything would be like, hey, I think we should post this thing. Like Eric
Yeah.
Adams who had to splice that video together. I love that private meeting with who? The guy.
I'm going into a private meeting. Okay. Like,
Okay. Me too. It's called the bathroom. Like what? It's a private meeting.
He is such a ridiculous person. He is such a ridiculous person. I mean, this is where I want to put together a supercut just for my own entertainment of all the crazy shit he said. Remember that one time he said, it was right around New Year's, and it was a local reporter had asked him, you know, if you could describe New York City in one word, what would it be? And he was like, New York.
Yeah.
Anything can happen here. You could wake up in the morning and a plane could hit the Twin Towers, or you could see someone opening a new business. What?
I forgot about that. Anything could happen. You could wake up in the morning.
Anything could happen. A plane could hit the Twin Towers, or you could see someone open a new business. Okay. Great.
That's like Tulsi.
Oh yeah.
That's like Tulsi posting that video of a nuclear bomb exploding over the Golden Gate Bridge. This is the director of national intelligence.
Yeah.
He's literally
Yeah.
posting a supercut of a nuclear weapon exploding over San Francisco.
It's amazing. It's
What
amazing.
the hell is going on? You guys, we deserve so much better than the people in charge. Are we the only normal people here? Like, I feel like us and people on this chat and people that we walk down the street on a daily basis, seeing and talking to, and our friends, we're like living in a world governed by insane people. People who say that anything can happen here. You could wake up one day and the world can go down.
Well, and also in another thing that he was doing, it was local media. He said he was speaking to a group of folks. My phone's ringing. It's probably some campaign asking me to vote for somebody. Because I have an old school landline. He said something like, people are hoping I crash the plane, or I burn and crash, but you shouldn't be, because you're in the plane with me, and there's no parachute on this plane. And I was like, who are you?
I mean, does he take a bong hit in the morning and like start speaking?
So.
Doesn't it sound like it? Like,
well, and there's another video of him when he was I don't know if he was Brooklyn borough president at the time or whenever it was a while ago. He's going through like a den or like an office and telling people how they can look through their children's things to see where they're hiding bullets and guns and drugs. And he's like, you could look behind a picture frame and this might be where they're stashing some weed. And he's like, looks at, and it is like an SNL sketch. It is ridiculous. And this again, when people found out during the campaign 4 years ago that he doesn't live in New York City, he lives in New Jersey. And and by the way, people who don't know this, Eric Adams is a vegan who had I think he had diabetes or something like that. He lost a ton of weight and he's this health nut now, but he's not a vegan because the New York Times reported that he goes to very fancy restaurants and orders fish, which is not vegan. So cool. Just very truthful man. But anyways, he brings this camera crew to his apartment in Brooklyn. It's where his son lives because his son's stuff is all over the place and the sneakers. And he opens the refrigerator. There is no health food in this refrigerator. It's cold cuts and soda and all this other stuff. And so there was a whole thing. It was Fridgegate. Guys, there's a reason why Veep was so popular, especially with the people who work in politics or around politics, is because this is how it is. Veep is accurate. It is ridiculous. People are ridiculous and unserious. There's a handful of people, I guess, who are serious and are smart and whatever, but for the most part, man, woof. It's like a clown show.
I just don't understand the disconnect, right? And because it's not just on the Republican side, it's not just
no.
Trump is like the apotheosis of what we're talking about here.
Which we should say also, Eric Adams used to be a Republican and he switched parties so that he could be mayor. But anyways, keep going.
Right. But in terms of it's not. I mean, Democrats are this way. Tulsi Gabbard, who used to be Democrat. I don't know if people saw this crazy video. You don't have it, do you, Michelle, by any chance? This crazy video?
Oh, I don't have it. No.
Yeah, so it's this crazy video, which people should watch. Just Google it. That got Trump really pissed off, where she's talking about how she went to Hiroshima and Nagasaki and watched the devastation. Okay, fine, fair enough.
Yeah,
but
right.
We don't get a hold of ourselves. We too are going to be exploding in a nuclear holocaust soon. And again, it's one thing for a member of Congress to say this, which is what she used to be. She is the director of national intelligence. Way to cause mass panic. I mean, unless there's literally a nuclear missile headed for the Golden Gate Bridge as we speak, and there wasn't, what is she doing posting this shit?
Right. And I kind of want to be like, oh, so we care about cities now?
Yeah.
Right.
And then now, exactly. And somebody, MJ, you're so right, where she said Iran wasn't days away from producing a nuclear weapon. And now, of course, to save her job, it's like, oh, yes, they are. Yeah. So, how do you trust these people? I mean, at least with the weapons of mass destruction during Bush, these were liars, but they were serious people.
All on the same page, and they were serious people.
They were serious people, right? With serious backgrounds. So we bought it, a lot of us, because this was
I did. I mean, I was a college kid, but I was like, oh,
why wouldn't you buy it, right?
Right. You see Colin Powell, talking about this. It's like, okay, yeah.
Now you have people who are like, no, there's no weapons of mass destruction in Iran. Oh, wait, Trump says there are because he doesn't believe his own intelligence services. Oh, okay, then the intelligence services are saying
this is like his map, right? This is like the map with the hurricane, and he takes the Sharpie and does this. What is anything?
Yeah, and you've got Bibi Netanyahu, who's saying they're days away or weeks away, and the reality
I don't trust him either.
He's
crazy.
Years. He's been saying this for 20 years. And now Trump is, I think, tacoing out of invading Iraq, or at least Iran, rather, or bombing Iran, rather.
2 weeks, Julie. 2 weeks.
The taco way of not doing it. And what's so bizarre to me is all of these people know, including MAGA, they know that he's full of shit.
Yeah.
Because one day he says they have them. Tomorrow he's going to say they don't have them. And they're all going to fall in line again. And my question is, where's your agency? But the larger question I have is, if we can't trust our own intelligence services, if we can't trust our own government to tell us the truth, then we don't really have a government, because we're never going to, there's no cohesion. There's nothing. It's just insane.
Well, and you know, not to go down this rabbit hole here, but we showed this on the show the other night too, on Thursday. This is happening. There's 4 tech guys, tech executives that have been sworn into the United States military as lieutenant colonels, by the way, who did not have to go to basic. And they're making excuses for it, you know, saying, hold on. Where's the thing? Say they're giving some history here. Oh, well, we did it in 1917 with the railway guy, and we did it with Columbia Gas and Electric back in this during World War II. And I'm like, first of all, this was before. This was during wartime, and this was before the military-industrial complex. This was before then, and we're in a different time now, in a different era. And the people that they have sworn in as lieutenant colonels. My sister-in-law was in the Marine Corps for 20 years. It took her 15 to become a lieutenant colonel, and with two tours of Iraq and Afghanistan. So, you know, Shaiman Sankar from Palantir, which is the company that is invested by Peter Thiel, that is using all of the data and information that has been collected during Doge to use against us and surveil us. Andrew Bosworth from Meta, which is Facebook, Kevin Weil from OpenAI, which is ChatGPT, and Bob McGrew, who used to be at OpenAI and is now at Thinking Machines Lab. And like, this shit is just, let me just, because this looks kind of official, and you know, it's not as jarring, but like when you see pictures of these guys, this is them. They're like rich tech guys. They're like multimillionaires, and they now have access to sensitive information about our national security and weaponry. And listen, that AI drones and predator drones and all that stuff, that's the next frontier. And there's so much scary about this that I feel like I have outrage fatigue.
Yeah. And the question is, like, Israel, I'm very curious. When Israel attacked Iran, did they give Trump a heads up?
Yeah.
I'm not so sure that they did, as much as he says they did.
Yeah.
Because what, would you give him a heads up? Why? So
right.
Signal with Pete Hegseth? Or he's calling his friends on his private cell phone, which is not
right. I think Trump was just embarrassed.
Yeah. I mean, I think they were like, yeah, we gave him a heads up. And Trump's like, of course I got a heads up, because if he didn't get a heads up, he'd look ridiculous.
Right. Right.
I'm not so sure. Or maybe they said we're thinking about it, but I don't think they gave him the kind of details that.
Yeah, that would be with the state of things now. I mean, and also, I mean, doesn't Tulsi Gabbard, didn't she have some like, I mean, I just remember for the longest time being called an Assad apologist and everything else. It's just like, I mean, who knows who she's, you know.
She's a Russian asset. You guys.
Yeah.
Tulsi Gabbard is a Russian asset. Whether she's a useful idiot or she's a witting Russian asset.
Yeah. I have some friends in national security. I asked their opinion about that. I was like, what do you think? And they were like, oh, I think she's a useful idiot. She's a very dangerous, useful idiot.
Who's a useful idiot who's now the director of national intelligence. If I were Vladimir Putin, I would be literally going to the bathroom and taking a moment to myself when I heard that news. I mean, like,
well, have you seen this? And I'm glad that I'm just remembering this, because you of all people, I wanted to ask this about. So this is kind of happening all on Twitter right now. Do you know about this? Have you seen this?
Yes. Why don't you tell people what it is, though? It's very interesting.
Yeah. So Igor Shishko, right? He's Ukrainian, right? Am I getting that right? I think he is. So this guy, Sergio Gore, claims to have been born in Malta, but so he is in charge of he's the director of White House personnel.
Yeah. He's really powerful. I mean,
very powerful within the administration. And that's him on the right. He claims to have been born in Malta, but the Maltese government has no such birth record. People who knew him in Malta called him the Russian boy. So then Elon Musk, who is still feuding publicly with Donald Trump, is blaming this guy, Sergio, for part of this breakup between Trump and Musk. Elon Musk replies and says he deliberately lied about where he was born on federal forms. That's a serious crime. So Igor tweet, I mean, he's just go on his Twitter because he's like, I mean, this thing is ongoing.
Yeah.
Sergio Gore's lawyer has been sending emails to him, threatening him for defamation, telling him to take it down, but then really doesn't dispute any of it, which is kind of crazy. And I thought I had the other article here, but like there is a person that is in charge of White House personnel who's very, very close to Donald Trump, and he has not been vetted. He has not passed any of the national security background checks, whatever those forms are, or something.
It doesn't matter if he did, Michelle, because the reality is those forms are now, the vetting is now done
right
by people who Trump appointed.
Right.
So it doesn't matter. And by the way, remember back in the first administration when they said that Jared Kushner should not get any top secret information, and Trump just said, screw it. So I don't even know if they bother vetting. Tulsi Gabbard would not pass the vet.
No.
In normal circumstances.
Or Pete Hegseth or Elon Musk.
Pete Hegseth, Elon Musk's own lawyers in the last administration did not apply for a security clearance for a top security clearance for him because of his drug addiction and because of the fact that I don't know about addiction, because of his drug use and because of the fact that he has these weird undisclosed conversations with foreign leaders / Vladimir Putin, which he talks about publicly. Tulsi Gabbard, Pete Hegseth, between all of his drinking and all of his women stuff and all of his financial problems, he is the exhibit A.
Yeah.
Exhibit A of somebody who's compromised. I remember when I was in 1995, when I was graduating from grad school and I was applying for a job, and I wanted to apply for a job with the CIA as an analyst, not as a spy, as an analyst. I didn't get a call back. But I spoke to a professor on campus who was kind of known as the guy who would be recruiting people. And he said, asked me if I ever did drugs. I said no, because I always knew I would want to go into the Foreign Service, so I never didn't.
Yeah.
Did you ever do drugs? I said no. Do you have drinking problems? No, blah, blah, blah. I didn't. I think because I had family in Russia, I was not the right person because they could always hold your family against you.
Yeah.
But I just know the basic fundamentals of what it would take to be a low-level, entry-level person working at the CIA back then. And now you have the Secretary of Defense.
Crazy.
Like every box. Every box. I mean, what is to prevent Pete Hegseth from going on a bender and getting wasted and spilling everything he knows? Nothing, because he can't control himself. Because P.S., once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I mean, every day, one day at a time. And I just opened the Daily Beast article about this Sergio Gore thing. Just earlier this week, Musk described Gore as a snake after a New York Post reported that even though Gore is in charge of vetting thousands of executive branch employees, which is insane, he himself hasn't been fully vetted. I guess it's the central to Musk's attack on the claim, which we just talked about. Gore failed to file his own SF-86, the critical vetting form required for permanent U.S. security clearance. This was despite Gore being responsible for vetting thousands of other executive branch employees. And Igor, whose tweet that we showed, he had posted a series of articles relating to the White House aide, Sergio, including a New York Post story questioning where he was born. Details of a fact-finding trip he took to Russia while working for Senator Rand Paul, an archive of Gore's high school emails suggesting it referred to him as Russian Maltese, and now retracted investigation by a former Washington Post reporter turned independent journalist. I mean, the whole thing is insane. And the Russian, I mean, you know this better than anybody. The Russian spy apparatus is dedicated, and they play the long game. And I mean, I was I was reading an article. My husband is kind of like obsessed with this stuff ever since we watched The Americans. And there was a program that the Russians had that sent Russians to South America to assimilate as South Americans in whatever country that was. So then they would come to the United States as South Americans, and there would be like a layer, and they would spend years and years and years there before they came to America to be Russian spies here. Yeah. Crazy.
As part of that exchange, that prisoner exchange, about a year.
Yeah. I remember that.
One of the people, the two of the people they sent back were Russians who were sent to, I believe, Argentina. And then, if I'm not mistaken, then sent to either the Czech Republic or Hungary or somewhere, I think it was the Czech Republic, to spy. But everybody thought that they were Argentinian, even though they were Russian. And so, including their kids who were born in Argentina.
Yes, who didn't know. They were like, huh? What's going on here?
Kids.
It was literally right out of the Americans.
Totally. And so, I mean, the Americans is based on a true story. Remember, the Americans is based on all of the people living here. And so the Russians play a very long game. There is no doubt in my mind that at best you have useful idiots high up in the Trump administration. At worst, it's something more.
Yep.
There's no doubt in my mind that Trump was either a useful idiot for 40 years or something more. Nobody will ever, 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 ever convince me that Ivana Trump, who defected in 1970 something, 77, I believe, from the Czech Republic, married an Austrian ski instructor, moved to Canada, and then somehow came here to the United States and hooked up with Donald Trump, and notably was allowed to travel back and forth to visit her parents back in the Czech Republic. Now, I will tell you, as somebody who also left the Soviet Union, also left from behind the Iron Curtain at that same period of time, going back and forth. Once you left, you were dead to them. You would never see your family again. That was the trade-off. That was the trade-off. You don't get to go back and forth and visit like you're going on vacation. And yet she was allowed to do that. Take the kids to the Czech Republic, have the kids spend the summers with their grandparents. Bullshit. Nobody will ever convince me that Ivana Trump was not at least Czech intelligence adjacent, if not full on part of them. And nobody will ever convince me that in 1987, when Donald Trump went to Moscow, that he just went to go at a time when he was majorly in debt, had serious debt problems, had serious womanizing problems. He is ripe beyond belief.
Yeah. Krasnov, right? I mean, remember that story that came out in February?
I mean, I don't even know if he knows.
Yeah.
I don't even know if he knows, but nobody would ever convince me.
He might be such a narcissist that he really hasn't, is just.
No, listen, he was going bankrupt. If people remember in the 90s, he was going bankrupt. And all of a sudden, there was some massive infusion on his returns, those returns that Mary Trump leaked to the New York Times.
Yeah.
There was an unexplained massive infusion of cash that appeared out of nowhere. Has never been explained. Ever. Because it doesn't comport with any assets he has. And I'm telling you right now, he's exactly the kind. I mean, I wrote a whole Substack about it. I don't need to belabor this now, and I need to go in about 2 minutes. But other than that, just to tell people, I actually, if people want to find this on my Substack, you can. Here's what's important to know. In 1980, I forgot what year, I think it was 86, new Russian consul general in New York, who then became the Russian ambassador to the United States. People like that are obviously intelligence, just so everybody knows. It's not, I mean, that's not even debatable.
Yeah.
By his own account, the first thing he did, his daughter was already living in the United States, already working at the embassy. Translation, she wasn't just living here, she was an asset. She picked, by her account and his account, she picks him up from the airport and drives him. The first place that he says, the first place that he drove past was Trump Tower. And he was so impressed by the stunning beauty of Trump Tower.
Ugh.
Wait, it gets better. That he was so impressed by the beauty of Trump Tower. They could stop at Trump Tower, immediately go upstairs and meet the man who created Trump Tower. And that's how he met Donald Trump. And then immediately invites him to a dinner. And at that dinner, he says to him, "You must come to Moscow." And Trump says, of course. And he and Ivana go to Moscow in 1987. And that point, everybody thinks everything began. Okay, let me just explain something. If he lands at John F. Kennedy International Airport, which is where he must have landed, Trump Tower, I don't know why I'm giving a thumbs up. Trump Tower is not on the way to the Russian consulate. The Russian consulate is on
the east side.
So
all the way on the east side.
Yeah, but it's on 67th between Lex and 3rd, Lexington Avenue and 3rd Avenue.
Yeah.
Trump Tower is on 57th and 5th.
Right.
Not on the way from JFK.
Yeah.
More importantly, once you land at JFK, before you even go to your post to meet the people who work for you, you're going to go driving around New York City looking at Trump Tower. And then you walk into Trump Tower and you say, I have to meet the man who created this, and immediately get shown upstairs.
Right.
Come
And also, I mean, yeah.
Who buys
and the
that?
Rush, and also just, I mean, for continuity purposes, so yes, the Russian consulate is between Lex and Third, right? And further up and further east. Fifth Avenue runs south. It's a one-way avenue running south. You'd have to go up and then down, but JFK is all the way south on the other side of like the tip of the island. So that, like, nothing about this makes sense.
Nothing.
And
about it.
I didn't know about that, and now I'm like,
Yeah, I
That
mean,
stuff
they're not
makes me
even- they're not
crazy.
even-
Yeah.
they're not even pretending. They're not even
No.
pretending.
right.
And so the point is, and the whole Ivana thing about going back and forth, I mean, that is such nonsense bullshit. I mean, that I can tell you firsthand. Like, you
Yeah.
left, that's it. You'd never see your parents again. She was not going
Mhm.
back and forth. She certainly wasn't taking the kids back to spend summers with them in Czechoslovakia at the time.
Right. Right.
Come- And so I say all of this to say that this entire administration, from top to bottom, is completely compromised. It is our national security that is compromised. If we go to war against Iran, understand that the Iranians have cells here in the United States that are terrorist cells. And I'm telling you again right now, who here feels safe with the people in charge of our national security in the event of another 9/11?
Well, right. And also the Iranians have a history of assassination plots against people in the United States, including John Bolton. That's why John Bolton had a security detail for as long as he did that Joe Biden gave him. And so does Trump. And Trump wrote an executive order very early on in this administration. I know there's been so many of them that we lose count and we lose track of what he's done. But there was one that says that if the Iranians assassinated him, that we were to obliterate the country. He signed an executive order that said this, which is what?
Yeah.
What?
Because all of us exist for the sake of Donald Trump, right? There are 90 million people living in Iran. But if they assassinate Donald Trump, obliterate all of them.
Right. Can you imagine? That would be the end of the world. It really, I mean, that would just.
Of course. This is a major country
Right.
in the world. This, even if
Yeah.
it were a tiny little country, that's no excuse.
Right. And
But-
and yeah.
I got to go. And
I know. But just and also, I mean, like Ivana Trump, who his longest, I mean, the mother of the majority of his children, he buried her dead body on his golf course and let it grow over with grass, so that he could get a tax break by having a cemetery space on his property. Like, this is who he is. Nothing matters to him.
we are living in a very precarious, I hate to say this on a beautiful Saturday, but we're
I
living
know.
in a very precarious time
Yeah.
where the president of the United States and everybody around him is A, deeply unqualified,
Mm-hmm. Kakistocracy.
B, deeply compromised,
Mm-hmm.
and C, does not give a rat's ass about the American people. And
Nope.
we're doing this at a time when we are potentially about to go to war. A war with a country that is several times the size of Iraq,
Mm-hmm.
many times the size of Afghanistan.
And which my sister-in-law reminded me. I did not know this. She was texting me because she retired last year from the Marine Corps. She said, if World War III begins, I will be called back. They can call me back for another decade. And she's like, and I will have to go back into the active duty. I was
Yeah.
like, I did not realize that. And she was like, yeah, so this is great.
Oh, I'll go a step further. I think they'll bring back the draft.
Oh, I absolutely think so.
Yeah, and as the mother,
Which I don't know. Yeah, of
boy?
all white boys, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, as the mother of a boy, no thanks. Not for this president.
Not for this. Not for this. Not for
our
this.
policy.
There are some things that are worth it. This is not.
World War II would be worth it.
Correct.
If you attack Pearl Harbor, I'll do it. Not for this. Not under this commander in chief. No effing way.
No. So
All right.
on that note, are you doing anything fun this weekend, Julie?
I'm gonna go get my hair colored because the situation's a disaster.
I know. I'm about a month out from mine. I got a glimpse at the top of my head the other day. I was like, oh, this is not good.
Yeah, no, this isn't good. And I'm going to do that. I have to take my son to Princeton tomorrow for something.
That's fun.
So I guess. Nothing. It's just I feel like I need a vacation from my vacation. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a
Yeah. That's usually like what a normal person would feel like after coming back from Disney World or something. But I think you're saying that is on another level. So you deserve a few days off.
I know. I feel like I do, but I don't think I'm going to get it. Although we woke up this morning, we're in Pennsylvania at our weekend house. And my husband looked at me. We're sitting there literally with coffee cups. And he looks at me and goes, "We deserve this." I said, "Yes, we do. We really deserve this."
Good for you. And remind me, what day did you get back?
I got back on Monday.
So it hasn't even been a week.
No.
Oh my
I'll
God.
tell-
I
how
can't.
crazy we are. My husband and I are driving. My son's with my parents. My husband and I are driving to dinner with friends last night. And I look at him and I go, "Is today our anniversary?" And he goes, "Isn't it tomorrow?" I said, "No, I think it's today."
Oh my gosh, really?
He couldn't
How
even-
many years? How many years?
One.
One? This is your first?
One. Because we've been living together
Oh.
for so long. We just got married on a large last year. This is our first anniversary.
Oh my God. That's
How sad is that?
That is very sad.
The wedding was not a big deal because we've been living.
yeah, but still, it's
we're
just, that's
married for
that's
years and years. But we're
you only have a first wedding anniversary one time, you know what I mean? It's kind of a
so lame. We get to dinner with these friends who were at our wedding, and we're like, "Remember our wedding last year?" They're like, "Was that last year?"
oh my God, Julie. I hope you guys
So
take some time today. Go have a
so
cocktail.
yeah,
Go and-
we're so like just decompressing from this crazy escape from Israel situation that we're like, we don't know what's going on. Anyway, all right,
yeah.
guys.
I'm gonna go to Brooklyn. I'm going to a birthday party today
Nice.
in Brooklyn, which I will take an Uber, which I cannot afford to get there because it is 1,000 degrees out, and I refuse to sit in the subway station for a train that's probably I'm gonna have to wait 25 minutes for. So not doing it. So I'm gonna go do that.
Well, that's
I
like
know. This is what I do for my besties. You met Craig at the rooftop thing.
yes.
It's his partner's birthday today.
Oh,
So
Okay.
we're having a B day in Brooklyn.
Nice.
And tomorrow actually is my 21st anniversary of
Oh.
moving to New York City. So which is always a fun thing to think about. I moved here with $250 in my checking account and 3
Wow.
suitcases, and my ass is still here. So
Nice. You did it. You survived New York.
I did.
was
So
That was
Hmm?
2004.
2004.
Wow.
Mhm, mhm.
Happy anniversary to that. That's a bigger anniversary than mine.
It is, you know what? It's like my own personal anniversary of perseverance and survival and living on people's couches. And I once lived in a closet, and that's not a lie. And that's a story for another day. But anyways, everyone, thank you for joining us. All 14,219 of you.
Wow. Thanks,
Um,
guys.
yeah,
What a
across
cool way to- I love
yeah.
this. Like, by the way,
Across
we don't say this
platforms.
enough. Yeah, if we don't say this enough, you guys, like we have built this incredible community on Saturday mornings and Wednesdays too, but especially Saturday mornings of people who start their days with us. And we are
Yeah.
so deeply grateful to all of you. It's just like incredible that we keep
Yeah.
growing this community. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We really love you and just love that we're building this at a time when we all need to stick together because this is
Mhm.
bonkers. Okay.
It is bonkers.
And
And
I
I'm gonna play us out with Useful Idiots since we were talking about Russia. And Julie, you have a safe weekend. Everyone else have a safe and happy weekend. Stay hydrated. If you're in the Northeast, we're having a heat wave. And that's it. So we'll see everybody else on Wednesday at noon. Everybody be good.
Bye.
Bye.
You gotta be more thankful.
Please tell me I'm not the only one that saw that.
I don't even have words for what I just saw.
You said thank you once.
Putin went through a hell of a lot with me. He went through a phony witch hunt. He was accused of all that stuff. He had nothing to do with it.
Zelensky found every opportunity to try to Ukraine-splain.
I don't know if we can ever do business with Zelensky again.
Is the United States abandoning Ukraine?
No.
Hegseth has directed U.S. Cyber Command to pause all planning against Russia.
Alliances that my grandfathers spilled blood for. just cast aside as if they're nothing.
Glee in Moscow.
The Kremlin says the U.S. is aligned with Russia's vision.
Fallout from the Helsinki summit gloating in Putin's state-controlled media, taunting him for not sticking up for his own country.
I think that the United States has been foolish.
The American-European alliance is effectively over.
We could see the end of NATO.
We are not ready to give our freedom to this terrorist Putin.
This is not just about Ukraine.
It's Putinization of America.
Then it makes it a lot easier to steal from the American people, just like Russia.
We're about to lose our country.
It's a 5-alarm fire.
What's the signal? SOS, ding-a-ling, hello.
We might not be loud enough.
The sacrifices you make now will rewrite history, but we have to be willing to make them. We have to be willing to stop buying things, to stop going to work, to walk off the job, to sit in protest, to be in the streets as long as it takes.